فبالجهاد بنى الإسلام قوته.
Okay, welcome back. We just have a few minutes left before we conclude the program. The lines are open, 011 086 7700. The number will flash on your screen as well, 086 7700 on the 011 code. Keep it brief and to the point. Well, as we move towards a conclusion, there are those who are concerned and who say, where to from here? This was something that the South African Muslim community used to take pride in. When we used to hear stories, as you mentioned early on, about what happened in UK, and we would say, Alhamdulillah, it's so well coordinated, it's so well structured here in South Africa. Although the majority have accepted, and not even accepted, but applauded, the processes and the transparency and the efficiency with which this is done on a monthly basis. There are those, although they may be in a minority, who have actually even thrown down the gauntlet and said, we will oppose and we will not accept the sighting, even if there's going to be two Eids in our country. Unity is not at all costs. We're not going to compromise the Sharia. Is just this one of the signs of the times? Or is there something that leadership needs to do, and also ordinary South African Muslims at grassroots levels to send this message out and say, we're not going to allow you to fragment us as an ummah any further?
I think I'm always an eternal optimist. I just feel that the fact that people had to impersonate the UXA to be able to send that message tells you where the public stands on this matter. The fact that people had to impersonate UXA to be able to put forward that message tells you that where the ummah stands on this matter. And I think there's been an overwhelming response. People have become tired. Even just as there has been from different groups, different extremist groups from the different sects that we have within South Africa. I think what is amazing with regard to UXA has been that we have been able to collaborate. We have been able to sit together on one table despite the differences that we have. And those differences in the past have been quite major. But despite that, people have looked at the broader benefit and unity of the ummah to come together on this issue. And I think that for that we need to, the public on the ground needs to play its role to put its foot down and said, we will not tolerate people for their own personal motives or for other motives, trying to fragment the ummah on this particular basis. I think, and alhamdulillah, by and large, I think the ummah has been like that. There have been extremists from different points of view. I mean, the people who saw the moon in North Riding received phone calls around about 11, 12 o'clock in the morning, in the late night, asking them, what brand of Islam do you follow? Do you go for 40 days? Do you go for Mawlud? Don't you go for Mawlud? I mean, that is a completely unacceptable. And we need to say that is unacceptable. The public have to say that is unacceptable. People have to tell their religious leaders that, come on, we have come together, despite the fact that we have differences. We have been able to sit together on the table. We have been able to make a collective decision. And now for individual people or individual imams of different masjids to be able to try and impact negatively on that particular unity, I think would be unfortunate. And then maybe, inshallah, through the means of the people on the ground, they will be able to put a stop to that.
Let's go to our call on the line. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and greetings to everybody.
Ji, brother.
I can understand the need to see the moon in the case of Ramadan and the start of Shawwal. But surely when it comes to Hajj, Hajj is Arafat. And I was on Arafat just a few years ago, and I spoke to a big Mufti from Joburg. And I said to him, Mufti, what day is but my children fast in Cape Town? He said they must fast the day before Arafat. The day when we're on Arafat, sorry. And we celebrate Eid the next day. So I really think that when the Maulana Quran speaks about making use of the scientific astronomy and calculations, that we must really move with the times.
Okay.
And Hajj is Arafah.
All right.
And the day after Arafah is Eid.
All right.
Finish.
Jazakumullah for the call. Jazakumullah for the call, brother. Much appreciated. I'm going to try and take a few calls, one after the other, because we're fighting for time, and Maulana will conclude then and comment at the end. The number to dial 011 086 7701. That's 011 086 7701. Let's go to the next caller on the line. Let's just remind our callers, when you come on, just make sure your TV set is off, the volume is off there, and that you are brief and concise and to the point. Okay, let's go to the next caller. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum salam. Maulana, I just want to know, in previous years, we used to say that the moon should be sighted with the naked eye. Now, we're going through the telescope and going up there, what is the Sharia tell you that somebody witness or to see with the naked eye?
Okay.
Come to the point.
All right. Jazakumullah for the call, brother. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. The lines are open 011 086 7700. Brief to the point. We really press for time. Let's go to the next caller. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Okay, we're just waiting for that call to come through. Remember, the volume must be down, otherwise we get feedback. And because we're almost at the end of the program, we would appreciate if you could just pose your question or make your comment as briefly as you could, so that we can get in at least another 2 or 3 calls before Maulana responds to those callers and questions and comments and makes his concluding remarks. Caller, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Just speak up a bit, brother. I can hardly hear you. You're faint.
I would like to ask the Maulana why it takes time for them to announce about the moon after the sunset.
Okay. Jazakumullah for the call, brother. Much appreciated. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Well, a quick response to what we've heard so far.
Well, firstly, with regard to the telescope, I mean, our criteria is still the naked eye. And those people who doubted this particular Eid was not based on aids or with regard to a telescope. It was based on the naked eye, and that remains the criteria. So that would be with regard to the one caller who called. The other aspect with regard to the amount of time that it took, we had explained earlier in the program that it took a long time for us to get people to take the shahadat. And keep in mind, you cannot just, on the basis of sighting a moon, take a decision. You have to take a testimony. The testimony has to be given in front of authorities. And after that testimony has been taken, it has to be relayed back to the Central Hilal Committee or to the local ulama body. Now, if you keep in mind that there has been sighting in Bekkersdal, 47 kilometers from Azadwal, a group of ulama went from Azadwal to take the shahadat. The people who saw the moon in North Riding had to drive down to North Cliff to be able to give the shahadat. And then the people who saw the moon came to the office, and then the shahadat was taken. And that was a time-consuming process. As you can imagine, traveling 47 kilometers and then taking the shahadat for people of North Riding to come down to North Cliff to give the shahadat. And thereafter, after the shahadat has been taken, relayed back to the offices in Johannesburg, then you call up a teleconference, and to gain the consensus of all the ulama bodies of the country. Surely we couldn't take a decision just from the Jamiat Ulama South Africa in Johannesburg. That would have not been the right procedure, and is a procedure that we follow by gaining consensus of all the ulama groups. And we had a 15-20 minute teleconference for everyone to be able to gain consensus from their constituents. And of course, they took the necessary mashwara, the necessary guidance from their office bearers before a conclusion and before consensus was reached. So yes, it took time, but I think that time was well worth it for being able to reach the consensus required to make the decision.
Let's go back to the lines. Caller, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Okay, I think we've lost that call. Let's try one more time. Caller, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Okay, I think, Maulana, we're almost out of time, so we'll leave it at that.
I think the one we have to do that Eid al-Wuquf one. I think we can't. I understand the emotions with regard to the matter, but I think let us keep in mind that unity does not necessarily mean that if you're reading Maghrib Salat here in Johannesburg and you are sort of basing it on the same basis that Maghrib Salat is performed at the same time in Makkah and Mukarramah. I understand the emotions, but at this stage, I must say that the decision of the National Ulama Council of South Africa is even on that particular month to go with local sighting, and that is the decision of the National Ulama Council of South Africa.
Well, Jazakumullah for your time this evening, much appreciated, and let's hope that inshallah we'll only go from strength to strength.
No, inshallah, I'm quite optimistic. I think the people have seen, and especially people who are middle-aged, would remember the type of difficulties, the type of tribulation, the type of confusion that there was previously. Alhamdulillah, for the past, I'm now almost 30 years in Johannesburg. And for the past 30 years, we've never had major upheavals with regard to the moon. And I'm quite optimistic that inshallah, a better sense would prevail. And even the people on the ground would demand that we do have unity on this particular matter, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Us to the end of this evening's edition of the Sulaiman Ravat Show. Until next week, inshallah. Remember us in your du'as. Fi amanillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
فاستنهضي همما فالمسجد الأقصى ما زال يدعونا ندي على الفتية الأحرار في زمن أضحى به الحق بالخذلان مدفونا فبالجهاد بنى الإسلام قوته وهل لغير القوي الناس يصغون؟ رباه هيئ لنا من أمرنا رشدا، فأنت من بالتقى والدين يهدينا. أدعوك يا أمتي فاستنهضي همما، فالمسجد الأقصى ما زال يدعونا. ندي على الفتية الأحرار في زمن أضحى به الحق بالقرآن.